everybody, my name is Jeezy and welcome to a very unique video. So, I don't know if you guys knew this about me. I am a huge fan of Saw. I love the Saw movies. I haven't watched all of them properly, but I do in fact love the series. I've loved it ever since 2020 when I first got into it. But my real love for Saw sprung in 2017 when Resident Evil came out. Yep, Resident Evil 7. And back then I didn't even know what Resident Evil 7 was. I just found a video on YouTube about it. And I was like 10 years old around this time. And the video I happened to stumble across was the banned footage DLC. And it was Lucas's minigame. And if you guys don't know what that minigame was, it was where Clancy was tied to a chair with this like contraption that would cut off his fingers, and his opponent and him had to play a game of blackjack in order to win. Number 1 sprouted my love for blackjack. Number 2 sprouted my love for Saw traps. And that was my first ever, I wouldn't say introduction to Saw, but more like example of what Saw was. And definitely Lucas is based off of John Kramer, because have you seen that Happy Birthday tape? Anyway, so the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be ranking all of the traps based on how much I like them. Like, I'll base them off of the idea of it, whether or not I think it's unfair that you die in it, like if it's rigged. I'm just going to rank them based on my liking of it. Like, how much I like it, how much I dislike it. F tier is going to go to the traps that I think are really, really, really bad. Like, maybe they don't even work, maybe they just were put in the movie for no reason at all. Then we have C tier. C tier is kind of like that tier, but it has a bit more meaning to it. B is okay, they're pretty okay traps. A, definitely traps that I really like I think they're a cool concept, I think that they're very impactful, but S tier goes to all the traps that I truly, truly love. And there's like maybe 1 or 2 that are actually going up on that tier, if I think about it. The Saw 1, or the original Saw, we have the bathroom trap. Now, very iconic scene. I think it's been pasted all over social media everywhere, like they constantly reference the bathroom trap from Saw. I like this trap. It's actually very solid. It's like that whole escape room type of feel to it. It has that whole escape room feel. And I think that's pretty cool. The 2 guys in the trap, one of them didn't really deserve it. The other one, sure, he's very workaholic, but you don't have to kidnap his family, Jigsaw. Oh yeah, I don't really like John Kramer. I really don't like him. He's a very flawed character. Like, there's multiple reasons why he began killing people, and I don't know which one to pinpoint which is exactly the reason. And also, he finds the most weirdest ways to put somebody in a trap. Like, the one that's coming up is really stupid. Like, the reason behind it is really stupid, so we'll get back into that. So I'm going to put the bathroom trap at A tier, because I think it's really unique, it's really cool. In the end, it kind of shows the true relationship between the 2 characters in the trap. So yeah. The razor wire trap. Okay, this one was really stupid to me, so I'm going to put it at C. The reason this guy is in the trap is because he was, I don't want to say this without getting demonetized or anything like that, while YouTube tries to do something to my video, but he was cutting himself. That's the reason Jigsaw put him in an entire maze with razor wire. Like, come on, dude. And also, the trap is really stupid, in my opinion, because number 1, I hate mazes. Mazes suck. Number 2, I mean, it's pretty beatable. If you just don't move, I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna come looking for you anyway. Or maybe this guy just had a very lonely life and nobody's gonna look for him, so that's why he chose to just fall on the razor wire. But I really think that this trap wasn't solid. Not my favorite, definitely not the best one either, but it's not going in B tier. The flammable jelly one too, I hate this trap. This trap it doesn't deserve to go in F tier just yet, But flammable jelly, kind of a weird trap to me too, because number one, there's so many numbers on that wall, and you're telling me I have to look through every single one of them and try and figure out a combination to the safe? Nah. Like, this trap seems impossible to me, which is annoying. And it wasn't even designed by Amanda Young, which I'll get into later. Anyway, flammable jelly. My biggest fear is burning alive, because I hate fire. When it touches me, I cry. Burning is the worst way I could go out, and it's definitely a way I really don't want to go out. So this trap is really scary to me because I hate being burned alive. Not like I have been burned alive, I just really don't want to. I've been burned before, and it is not nice. Even tiny burns hurt, man. But yeah, the flammable jelly trap really didn't make sense to me. This guy was put into the trap because he skipped a day of work, like faking sick to skip a day of work, which is really stupid. Like, this is another one of those trap victims that just fall into the trap for no reason. Like, no legitimate reason, which really sucks. One day I'm gonna bump into John Kramer in the in the supermarket by accident, and I say sorry. The next day I'm gonna be hooked up to a trap. So yeah. Alright, the most iconic trap in the series, the reverse bear trap, going in S tier. A lot of people really like this trap, and I'm one of those people. I love this trap. The concept behind it is really, really cool. And of course it introduces us to one of the coolest characters in the series, Amanda Young. Like this one, if you don't even know Saw, but you know the reverse bear trap, you know enough about Saw. And apparently this was the very first trap that kicked off the series because it was used in the short film that actually sprouted the franchise, which is really cool. And Amanda Young, great character. Very flawed, but great character. She was put in there because she was a junkie, which is sad, because Jigsaw believed that she wasn't appreciating life, which I don't know, man. Maybe there's a reason she went down that line. Maybe she didn't appreciate life because something really bad happened. But you know what? We're just gonna leave it at that. But reverse bear trap definitely goes in an S tier. The drill chair. I'll put it above the. Nah, it goes behind these two. All right, the drill chair. It was basically there for like suspense. And the cops ended up shooting the trap to make it stop, which is quick thinking, which is really great. But it's not the greatest. It just drills into your neck. It's not anything to be super hyped about. The same thing with the shotgun hallway. That one is going straight in F tier. I do not like that trap because this is Jigsaw's security system. He says he's not a murderer and that murder is distasteful or something like killing is distasteful.
Killing is distasteful.
But the shotgun hallway is his form of security, and number one, that's really funny. Number two, that's really terrible because this guy claims not be a murderer when this is his security system. And the poor cop that got shot in this trap didn't deserve it. But also this trap is really stupid because I don't think it can work. Like, there has to be some kind of pressure to pull the trigger, and I don't think a tripwire is the way to do it. I don't know. Depths test. I actually looked this one up because I wasn't sure which one this was. But I think this one was the one where he has to choose between killing the guys in the bathroom trap. I forget his name. Not Hoffman. Adam and Dr. Gordon, I think. He has to choose between shooting them. It goes above. It'll go above the drill chair. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's basically nothing really happens to him in the end if he chooses just to kill none of them. So, yeah, that's just my take on it. It's okay. It could be better though. Alright, the death mask. The death mask, I really like this one. I used to call it the Venus flytrap trap because I genuinely thought that's what it was called, but no, it's called the death mask. I still think Venus flytrap is a cooler name, guys. So this one, basically this guy, I can't remember what he did, but he wakes up and there's a key behind his eye, and in order to win the game, he has to cut that key out of his eye, and then he has to do that before the timer runs out, otherwise this thing will close on his face, and it's covered in spikes, so it'll pierce through his face. I think it's a pretty solid trap. Pretty cool, actually. It's very hard to watch, because I hate anything to do with eyeballs. Number one, I see out of those, and I really don't like anything to do with eyes. Number two, it's actually very suspenseful to watch. But I still think that Venus Flytrap is the cooler name for this trap. Electrified Staircase also goes in F. That's another one of a Jigsaw security system. One of the cops just falls through the floorboards and gets his shin broken. The other two get pushed into a wired fence that's electrified. Like, come on. That's your security system, bro? Pretty much you're going to be committing manslaughter every time somebody tries to break into your house. But I still think it doesn't even count as a trap. These two don't really count as traps to me, because they're just his security system. They're not traps. But you know what, we're just going to leave it. Next we have the Nerve Gas House, solid A. I love this one. The Nerve Gas House actually has a lot of story to it, and that's what I really like about it. And the characters and the way they interact with each other is also really fun to see, even though half of the movie is just them coughing because of the poison. But other than that, it's actually really cool. And the way that they have to work together in order to get all of the antidotes, even though they don't end up doing that. I also really like group traps, because it kind of forces everybody to work together even though they don't actually do it. But we're just going to leave it at that. The Magnum Eye Hole, F. This trap I don't think will ever work, and it's really stupid how this guy died. Because I think at the very beginning, one of the girls looked through the peephole of that big door, and how did she not see that she was looking through complete darkness or into a barrel of a gun? Like, she couldn't warn anybody that there's a gun behind the door. And also, I don't think this trap will actually work in real life, because, once again, you need like a solid force to push the trigger of a gun. And the way this guy died was really stupid, because he offered to just look through the peephole for some reason, I don't know why. But also, there was no reason for him to look through the peephole. He could have just waited for the dude to use the key on... He could have waited for Xavier to use the key on the door, and everything would have been fine. I don't know why he needed to look through the peephole. So that's his fault. The furnace... Ooh, this one is tricky, though. Once again, it's another burning alive one, which I really don't like, because those ones scare me. I'll put it in B tier. I might change, though. It definitely doesn't go past the death mask, but definitely goes into B tier. This one is where one of the guys has to go through a furnace and get two antidotes. He pulls one, and he gets the other one, but that one actually locks the door of the furnace, and it starts up the fire in the furnace. And he says only the devil can help you out, and that refers to like this little valve on the furnace door that has the devil pointing to it. And I think it's also kind of his fault that happened, because he could have just looked left and right before even crawling into the furnace. He could have saved his life there, but he didn't. And also, only half of his body got charred because half of him is sticking out of the furnace. Other than that, this trap is actually pretty cool. I like it. It's really interesting to see. The needle pit, solid A, but I think it goes above the nerve. It actually goes above these two altogether. I like the bathroom trap, but not as much as I love the needle trap. The needle trap is a really gross looking one to see. Needles, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I definitely wouldn't say I'm scared of them. I'm more scared of the pain that they cause. Like this one time I had to get a shot because I was sick. I actually threw up because of the pain. Maybe it's because I'm a very bad person when it comes to taking pain. I wouldn't survive any of these traps. Needles don't really scare me. Like, I don't find them scary, but the needle pit is definitely very hard to watch. Because you get to see Amada getting thrown into this needle pit, and she has to dig through all the needles to find a specific one that opens the door, which the dude doesn't even open the door because he has butterfingers, which is his fault. But it's also really cool to see how the adrenaline rush kicks in and then she just starts shoving the needles away. I think she was also pregnant when she was, Shawnee Smith was pregnant when she was filming this. And also, a bunch of the needles in the trap were actually, they were replaced, like they bought a bunch of needles and had to replace the tops with rubber ones. But I think at one point there was a needle that didn't have the rubber needle tip attached to it, so it stabbed her. So they had to go through every single one all over again so that wouldn't happen. But luckily she's fine, which is good. But needle trap, solid one. I like it. Razor box trap is really stupid. It's going above the drill chair though. This one, it was kind of her own stupidity that she died in this trap. Literally, she had to stick her hand into a box that had like razors in it to get an antidote. But it was really dumb of her to put both hands through there because that eventually led to her demise. I think it would be, if you can feel the razor, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to stick your other hand in there because you can feel it. And you can try and like push the razors away to try and get your hand out so you don't die. But she didn't do that. I think she was delirious from the gas. But it also didn't really serve any purpose for being a trap. It was just, I don't know. I didn't really like it. Okay, the classroom trap, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but I really don't like this trap. But it goes above everyone else. It's rigged. It's very, very rigged. It's made by Amanda Young, which basically means that you're screwed either way, because she makes her traps really hard and they're all rigged, so you won't actually live in the end. But this one, this guy has like hooks attached to his feet, his hands, and his jaw. I think this trap was supposed to be winnable at one point because I think the original hook was supposed to go through his tongue, but they put it through his jaw because the actor could scream in pain because he has to scream in pain. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to bite down on a fake tongue. But this one was just really dumb. The fact that it's rigged kind of makes it annoying because number one, if he had to pull through his jaw, he wouldn't survive. And the door was welded shut, so he wouldn't even be able to escape. So he was dead either way. Alright, the angel trap, solid B. But I think it would go above the furnace. I love Detective Carrie. She's one of my favorite characters, and I was really sad that she died. But come on now. Her trap was rigged once again because it was made by Amanda, but she really didn't deserve to die, in my opinion. And I think this trap actually has one of the most brutal traps of all time. Yeah, this one has the rack. That one I'll get into later. The angel trap actually was really sad to watch because it was really sad to see how an incredible character died in such a horrible way, and the fact of it being rigged really sucked. And I see a lot of people really, really like this trap, but I'm personally not a fan of it because it's gross, but it's also not cool in a sense. I mean, I think it's based off of I think this was back in the Viking era. It was like a form of torture to move the ribs to your back to make them spread out like angel wings. But all in all, this trap wasn't that cool. I mean, it was cool, but I wouldn't say that it goes up until A or S tier. It was okay. Shotgun collar, B. I think it'll go behind the furnace, though. The shotgun collar is fine. I mean, Dr. Lynn is her name Lynn? I can't remember. But I don't think this trap would have worked anyway because number one, once again, you need a force to trigger a bullet. The force on that collar was definitely not enough to trigger those bullets. And also, I don't know how it's tied to Kramer's heartbeat, so I don't know how that works. Does it Bluetooth? But the shotgun collar is okay. I don't really like it that much, but it's definitely better than some of the other traps that we're gonna get into. The freezer room, cool concept, but definitely a C tier. I feel like they could have done a lot more with the freezer room. My biggest problem, and it's also a big problem that a lot of people have with it, is the nudity. Because I feel like there was no reason for this lady to be hanging naked in a giant freezer room. If you had her clothes on, it would have been more impactful, because I feel like if you actually were able to take off all of those clothes, it would like stick to her skin, so it would be kind of horrific to look at. But the unnecessary female nudity really makes that trap less likable. And also Jeff, I mean, I feel bad for Jeff, I really, really do. The way he was put into this trap for grieving his son in the wrong way, as if John Kramer is grieving his son properly. But also, he's just really slow. Like, he just stands there for like a good 20 seconds while this lady is being sprayed with water. And he's complaining about the cold. That was really funny. But other than that, the freezer room is fine. I don't like it. I really don't like it, but it's better than going into F tier. It's better than these three. It's not as good as these ones, but definitely better than the F tier ones. The pig vat, I think I'll put at a B above the furnace. So it's really gross, I'll say that, because I think the judge that trialed the driver that killed Jeff's son was tied to the floor by the neck, and the whole pool would be like the whole pool that he was in would be filled with pig guts, and it would slowly drown him. It's really gross, but it's also one of the more emotionally taxing ones, because in order to save this guy, Jeff has to burn his son's possessions to get the key, which is number one, really terrible, Jigsaw. What the hell? It's not like you used, I think he used his dead son's crib as a trap at one point, and really, you put this poor guy through something he really didn't have to go through, because you thought he was grieving his son wrong, which is terrible. Poor Jeff. But also the judge ends up surviving anyway, because Jeff brings himself to actually burn the possessions, where he's not that slow, but the judge was actually very close to dying, but luckily he was able to get him out. The rack, S tier. I love the rack. It's horrifying to look at, and I'm just saying, it's Jigsaw's favorite trap. If Jigsaw tells you you're in his favorite trap, you're screwed, man. There is no way you're gonna survive this. But this one relies on Jeff trying to save Timothy Young, who's in the trap. Timothy Young is the guy that actually killed his son, but it was an accident. He felt really, really, really upset and very guilty about it. Like, he was traumatized by the fact he accidentally killed somebody. But this guy didn't deserve his fate. I'm just saying, he really didn't deserve it. And the way that the gears keep moving once his head is twisted round all the way is really gross and terrifying. And the fact that it doesn't do all of the limbs at once, it does each of them one by one, which is horrible. Like, you just feel that pain for most of the trap, and that's really terrible to think about. But yeah, the rack really, really, really good. It's a really good trap. I like it. Amanda's test goes in C, definitely above the freezer room. Yeah, there. Amanda's test is just her way of like trying not to kill the doctor in the room, but I don't think it's one of my favorites. It's definitely weird. I don't know. Same with Jeff's test, but I'm gonna put it behind Amanda's. Those two, kind of strange to think about. They're not actually traps, they're tests, so they're fine, but I mean, they're supposed to have meaning behind it. The meaning doesn't really stick in my head as well as the other traps do, but it's alright. The mausoleum trap. I actually quite like this one. I see a lot of people not liking this one, which is kind of sad to me because I think it's pretty cool. I'm going to put it above the pig vat. It's a very solid trap. So there's these two guys. One of them has their eyes sewn shut and the other one has their mouth sewn shut. And basically, apparently this is another one where they have to work together. But since they both think that they're aggressive, the guy that can actually see ends up killing the guy that can't so he can escape. And it wasn't an unfair one. It was just a matter of like believing that the two people in the trap weren't hostile, but they both thought that they were hostile. So they were kind of panicking in this trap, but it's okay. We'll just ignore that part. All right, the scalping seat. I'm gonna put it at a B as well, below the mausoleum trap. The scalping seat is actually quite terrifying. It's a machine that like eats this lady's hair to the point where it's pulling off her scalp. And the guy, I can't remember what his name, but I know he was a cop or a detective or something. I cannot remember. I'll put it on the screen. But this guy, his biggest test is to test whether he can leave a situation that he doesn't need to get involved in. This guy ends up killing a lot of people because he didn't listen to Jigsaw saying that he didn't need to do anything. I mean, I would have learned from this lady that if I carried on, I would get a lot of other people killed. So I would have left immediately. So, I don't know. I don't know. This guy that went through this trap was kind of stupid. Saw 5 isn't really my favorite either. It had a lot of stupid traps. I didn't really like it that much. No, this isn't Saw 5. This is Saw 4. I didn't like Saw 4 that much. I didn't like Saw 4, 5, and Spiral. I hated Spiral. Spiral, as much as I love Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock because he voiced Marty in Madagascar, I really don't like those two movies. There's like something missing from them, and I'll probably get into that when we get to the traps. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put the scalping seat in B tier. It's actually pretty cool. The bedroom trap, solid A. It's not above these ones, but solid A, because the guy in this trap definitely deserved it. He was a creep. And it's such a satisfying trap to see somebody as horrible as this guy get what they deserved. And that's all I'm going to say, because it was actually very solid. The spike trap, F tier. I did not like this one, but it goes above everyone else in this tier. So the spike trap is like a big pin cushion. There's these two people tied to a pole and there's spikes going through them. So the lady has some of the spikes that are through her through the non-dangerous parts of her body, but it's through the other guy's dangerous parts of the body and vice versa. So basically, to survive, this lady has to pull out, or one of them has to pull out the spikes to see who dies first. She ends up winning, and I think the story behind this one is that the guy was very abusive to her, so she ended up killing him because she was fed up with just him in general. And it's a really great ending, but definitely not a trap I like. The explosive puppet goes behind every single one of these because it's stupid. You get too close to Billy, his face just explodes, and it shoots through the officer's head. She's also a very cool character, but I can't remember her name. It's been a while since I've watched these movies. But anyway, the knife chair, I'd put it at B, and I'm going to put it above the pig vat. The knife chair is one of John's first traps. I think it is his first trap. And I think it's with the guy that killed his unborn son. So he has to push his face into a bunch of knives to free his hands so he can get out of the trap, but the trap ends up falling apart. So he tries to lunge at John, but he ends up dying after falling into a bunch of razor wire. It's pretty cool. It's nice to see that John is trying to make these traps like what his first ever trap was. Because I used to think that the bathroom trap was one of his first ever traps, but I realized Amanda was actually one of the first people to be in the trap before these two. But the knife chair was actually really cool. It's not the best, but it's cool. Spine cutters, I actually cannot remember what this one was about. Let me pull it up. This one, it doesn't end up killing him. What's his name? Not Eric. His name starts with an A. It's not Adam. But it's Hoffman. I think Hoffman was the one in his trap, but he didn't end up dying anyway. I don't think it would have done anything, so I'm going to put it very low. But actually, no, above the freezer room, because freezer room could have been better. Ice block trap goes at a solid B above the shotgun color. I like this one. It's like, they used a lot of ice. They used 2 ice blocks to smash this dude's head. And it's really cool. I like it. It's definitely an interesting concept. I don't know if it'll work. Actually, no, it would work, but I don't think it would like explode his head. It'll definitely squish it to the point where he dies, but it wouldn't explode it. But yeah, it goes in the B tier. The pendulum trap, I would say, goes in the A tier as well. I like this one. It's rigged, of course, but it's really cool. I was really hoping for like that kind of cheesy medieval style trap that Jigsaw would eventually go for. Although I think Amanda was the one that did this one. No, it was Hoffman. Hoffman made this trap, but I think it was his first ever rigged trap, because the other ones are pretty survivable. And I think the guy that was in this killed his sister, so that's why he's in the trap. But it's really cool. I like the concept. The water cube, B tier above the knife chair. The water cube is really cool. Basically, this guy has this cube on his head that'll fill with water and it'll slowly drown him. But he actually has a bit of quick thinking. He takes a pen from his pocket and sticks it in his throat so he can breathe through it. And the voice line that he says when he's talking to Hoffman is really funny.
How'd you walk out of that building?
How did you?
On a gurney with a fucking hole in my throat.
But I think it's really cool. I like the water cube. And it's not super interesting, but I think it's cool. The shotgun share... F. I don't think there's anything special to it. Definitely goes above Billy the Puppet, though. The necktie trap, I think will also go in the B tier, but definitely behind the other ones. The necktie trap is basically the very first trap a group of people have to go through, and all they have to do is work together, and that's something that they don't do, which is really stupid of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to try speed through these ones because there's not much left and time is running out for me. But the necktie trap, solid one. I like it. The way the lady dies is very goofy though, but This one, also an F tier. The ceiling jars, definitely beatable. If the people could stick more than one person in those tunnels to save themselves from the bomb, and they didn't end up doing that, which is stupid. Because they think of survival of the fittest when this whole trap is about how they all have to survive together. Even in the final trap, they realize eventually that they have to work together to survive it. But there's only 2 people left. And there were supposed to be all 5 that went through the final one, but whatever. The electric bathtub also goes in C tier. Nah, not above the freezer room, but electric bathtub, also beatable with all 5 of them, but there was only 3, so they ended up killing the 3rd one and stuffing her in the bathtub so that she could take the shock. But, it's quick thinking, very smart thinking, but, definitely not how it's supposed to go. It's also not that interesting to look at. This one goes in A. I love the 10 pints of sacrifice. This one actually has emotional connection to it, and it's really cool to see how these two are bonding while they're getting their fingers sliced. But whatever. There's also a lot of ways to beat this one that I've heard about, which is cool. But 10 pounds of sacrifice also goes up here. The glass coffin, S tier. I like the glass coffin. It's like the whole walls closing in thing, and the twist behind it is really cool. Glass coffin, solid S tier. The pound of flesh also goes in S tier. I love the pound of flesh one. I'm a sucker for Shakespeare. I love Merchant of Venice. And the pound of flesh one is so cool. I love it. I feel bad for Simone, because she's the one that cut off her arm to save herself from that trap. The other guy definitely had a bit of an advantage because of his belly fat, but he was too slow at cutting it all off, and she had an entire arm to give, so she gave off her arm. Apparently, I was actually watching a doctor react to this trap. Apparently, like your brain still kind of senses that your arm is still there, so there's a chance of the doctors actually being able to reattach your arm, and you'll be able to still use it. But I think it goes a bit too late. Poor Simone. Oxygen Crusher. Okay, I have to say, this is actually the beginning of Saw 6. Saw 6 is my favorite one. I love Saw 6. Saw 6 is my favorite Saw movie of all time, because the traps, the story, the characters, really fun to watch. The Oxygen Crusher, though, I think will go at a B tier. I feel bad for the guy, not William Easton, his janitor. The janitor, poor guy, he was just the janitor. He just smoked a lot, and that's why he was put in the Oxygen Crusher. Of course he's gonna die. He smokes. This should be used as an anti-smoking ad. And it would definitely work, but I felt bad for this guy. That was in the trap that actually died eventually. The gallows, I think I'll put it at a C tier. Now I'll put it at B above the shotgun collar. This one actually has a very tough choice, but the assistant and secretary is the people that are in this trap. I think one of them, the guy, lives a very lonely life, while the old lady has a love that she has to get back to. So William decides to save her instead of the guy. And I felt really bad for him, because there was a way for him to actually get better and find people that actually truly love him. Maybe he even had family that wasn't in the country, and I was thinking about that a lot. So they wouldn't even know what happened to him, and I was really sad. And this lady, I know that she has a love that is waiting for her, but I feel like the other guy deserved to live a bit more. The steam maze, also a B, but I'll put it above... I'll actually put it above the mausoleum trap. The steam maze, very cool concept. The machine that the lady is strapped to is really funny looking, and the way that it pierces through her skull and she falls over onto the ground is funny too. But other than that, it's okay. It's not a trap I truly adore, but it's alright. Shotgun carousel, above the reverse bear trap. This specific trap is my favorite. I love the shotgun carousel. I love the concept behind it. I love the scene itself. It's so cool. I love it. I could go on and on about how much I love this trap, and it's the main reason why I love Saw 6. Okay, the acid room, I'll put it above above the mausoleum. It's okay. It burns. William Easton gets a bunch of acid injected to his back, and it burns him from the inside out. It's very gory to look at. It's actually very gross to look at. But I wouldn't say that it's good. It's just kind of a revenge trap. But the bear trap 2.0, not as cool as the original reverse bear trap. It doesn't even look as cool as the original one, but I'm gonna put it below everyone else on the B tier, because number one, Hoffman actually ends up surviving it like Amanda, but it's not the reverse bear trap we know and love. Okay, Saw 3D is actually one of the weaker Saw movies, and is definitely one of my least favorite ones. The public execution trap, F tier. I do not like this one. There was no reason to put that in the opening, because the opening was just these two guys. They were put on public display. Like, what was really stupid is how everybody could see what was happening to these people. And that really boggled my mind, because that's not something John Kramer would do. But you know what? We're just gonna leave it. Alright, so I didn't actually explain what was going on in this trap, my apologies. So basically there's these two guys strapped to a table, and there's a buzzsaw in front of them. And there's a girl strapped to the ceiling of this display case that they're in, and she's right above the buzzsaw. So how this works is the two guys have to kill each other. Well, one of them has to kill the other one, so that one of the guys survive and the girl survive. But if the two guys decide to stay alive, the girl has to die, so she gets lowered onto the buzzsaw. But this scene is really dumb, because the backstory behind these characters is that the girl is two-timing these guys, and she's dating both of them at the same time, and she's basically cheating on them. And what's really dumb is that she roots for whoever is winning in the buzzsaw match, and it's really funny because as soon as one guy starts losing, she starts cheering for the other one. But then one of the guys decides that this is just not worth it. He talks through it with the other guy, saying that they're gonna kill her. So they just go, you know what, Dina, we're breaking up with you. So yeah, it's still a very dumb trap. The pain trial. Is this the pain train? Like the one that Carrie was. Is her name Carrie? No, not Carrie. Crap, it's John Kramer's ex-wife. Kate? Her name starts with a K, but it's a dream sequence. It's not an actual trap. The concept behind it is really weird too, so I'm just going to put it as C. It's not one that deserves to go in F, but definitely deserves to go in C, because it's not that great. It could be better though. A horsepower trap, I love this one. The number one reason why I like this one is because Chester Bennington is in it, and if you guys don't know him, he's the late singer of the band Linkin Park, and I love Linkin Park. I thought the entire band was in the trap, but no, it was actually a few other people. One of them was actually a Scream Queens actor, which is cool. But I love Chester, and this trap was actually cool. I liked it. It definitely doesn't deserve to go, like, at the top, but I think it could go above the 10 Pints of Sacrifice. I like it. It's cool. It's actually my favorite trap from Saw 3D. It's basically the best one out of the entire... Actually, no, it's not the best one out of all the ones in Saw 3D, but it's definitely one of the best. The lawnmower trap, F tier. This one doesn't make sense to me. This one's also a flashback. It's these two people that are suspended from the ceiling, and they have to push each other into this big, like, circle of lawnmower blades that will just cut them up. But what doesn't make sense is how these people were actually found unconscious hanging to the bar, which is stupid. Like, when you're unconscious, you don't have, like, the strength to grip yourself. So I don't know how they fell asleep holding on to that thing. But also, the way the dude dies in the trap is also really funny, because the lady ends up slapping him into the trap, and that was really funny. But yeah, definitely not the best one. The same with the suspended cage. This one was meant to be beaten, so it's not really a trap. The silent circle, this one was actually the very first trap I was ever exposed to in the Saw franchise, and it's disgusting. This lady has a hook in her stomach, and the guy is tasked of pulling out that, not a hook, it has a hook in her stomach, and there's a key attached to it, and the guy is tasked with trying to pull that key out of her, and it's awful to look at. So I'm actually going to put it at A, because I think it's a cool trap. It's definitely not above the other ones, but definitely a cool trap. And I should probably mention, the guy that's going through this trial or this series of traps is actually somebody who lied about being in a Saw trap, so Jigsaw decided to teach him a lesson and put him in the trap. Put him in a trap. And I did say that this one is not my favorite movie. I don't know why, it's just not... It's not as cool as the other ones are. like, the traps are really solid. I like all the traps. A few of them, actually. I like a lot of the traps in Saw 3D, but it definitely could have been a better movie. But the Silent Circle is actually a pretty cool trap. I like it. The Impalement Wheel, terrifying trap, goes in A tier. I like this one. I like it a lot. Hangman's Noose goes in C tier. Above the drill chair. Yeah, above the drill chair. The Hangman's Noose, it's basically how this guy has to guide this other guy that is, I think, his friend. He has to guide his friend through these platforms, and if he falls off the platforms, the noose hangs him. But it's not a cool one. The Wisdom Teeth one, I'll put it at C tier. It's painful to look at, but definitely not my favorite. It's painful, but definitely not a trap I would like to sit through. It's actually not that cool. The Brazen Bull, B tier. I actually feel really, really bad for the lady in the Brazen Bull, because this lady is the wife of the guy that lied about being in a saw trap. She did not deserve her fate, and it's really, really sad what happened to her, because she went out in the worst way possible. If he learned his lesson, why did you have to kill her? I felt so bad for this lady, and I couldn't lie to you. I legit felt tears coming in my eyes, because that's how sad I felt while seeing this poor innocent girl who was just trying to be a supportive wife to her husband just get burned alive. It was so sad. I felt really bad for her. But the Brazen Bull is actually a real life torture device, which is terrifying to think about. It's not in the shape of a bull, but it's a giant oven, essentially. So, yeah. But poor girl. I felt really, really bad for her. The Sentry Trap, I'll put it at C. It's okay. Cyanide Box as well. The Reverse Bear Trap, 3.0, definitely goes in A tier. Above the Nerve Gas House. This one we actually see the Reverse Bear Trap in action, and I think it's on John Kramer's ex-wife. It's really cool. Like, we finally get to see what it does. It's really cool to see. The Bucket Room Trap, I actually like this one, so I'll put it at a B above the Acid Room Trap. I like it. The Chain Hangers, this one's kind of stupid, because, I mean, all the lady had to do was tell them the number that she stole from this lady that she accidentally killed because she took her inhaler when she was having an asthma attack. All she needed to do was tell these people which one was the right serum to inject her with. But this guy ends up getting really angry at her and injects all of the syringes into her, and 2 of them are filled with acid, so it ends up burning her skin from the inside out, which is very terrible to look at. But it's definitely not the coolest or good traps. But I think I'll put it above the Razor Box. No, above the Hangman's Noose. Yeah, that's fine. Leg Wire, stupid trap, all the way here. This one is actually how you're supposed to get these people out of the grain silo trap out, which is also one that's going in the C tier. These 2 traps literally don't make sense. If this person is stuck here, they end up losing their leg. But if these people are stuck in here and this person already lost their leg, there's no way for them to get out. The grain silo is basically them just being stuck in a bunch of grain, and there's a bunch of sharp objects that are falling from the top. It's very stupid. I don't like these 2 traps. They're definitely the weakest ones in Jigsaw. Same with the motorcycle trap. I don't like that one either. Shotgun Trap, no, put it above the Wisdom Teeth one. It's actually a very symbolizing trap. I like it, but not as much as I like these ones. The Laser Collar, I'll put it at a B, like very low B. The Laser Collar is basically a very Star Wars-esque sci-fi kind of trap. where these guys have to confess. They have to confess that they did something. I can't remember what it was, but it's rigged anyway because even though the guy confessed, he still dies, and that kind of sucks. But it's a really cool concept. All right, then we move on to Spiral. Spiral has some cool traps, but it's really dumb. I don't like Spiral. It's definitely my least favorite Saw movie, but the traps in it are cool. So we start off with the subway trap. This one is getting an A tier. No, not an A tier. I'll put it in B above the water cube. I like the subway trap. It's basically this guy, this crooked cop is suspended from the ceiling and his tongue is attached to these iron bars. So he has to pull his tongue out in order to escape the trap unless he wants to get hit by a train. He still gets hit by the train, but it's actually a very icky looking trap. It's very squeamish. It's very hard to watch. The finger trap is one that I'm going to put at C tier above the tests. The finger trap one is actually one I think that's pretty beatable because it's based off of a Chinese finger trap. So if you know how to get out of that, then you can get out of this trap. And also there's nothing keeping him from sitting down in the tub of water, because if he wastes his time and he doesn't tear off his fingers, he has to get electrocuted in the water. But there's nothing stopping him from standing up, which is where the copper wires are attached to. It's attached to his waist. So he can basically survive this trap for quite a while. But it's fine. The wax trap, this one is rigged. This one is terribly rigged. Because the two options from this trap is, number one, you are paralyzed because you have to sever your spinal cord to get out of it. Number two, your face is burned off and you're suffocated by a bunch of wax. So I think I want to put it at C. No, I like it. I like it enough to put it at B. It's rigged, but I like it. I'll put it above the acid room. Wax trap, very terrible to see though. This poor lady. The glass grinder definitely goes above the grain silo and the leg wires. This one, I don't know if you'll actually die from getting flayed by a bunch of glass, but whatever. This one, F tier. This one is like the worst one in the entire franchise because it is such a stupid trap. It's really, really bad. Basically, Chris Rock has to save Samuel L. Jackson from being shot by police or letting the killer that is Jigsaw in this movie get away. Or he has to shoot his dad and then he can arrest the other guy. But I don't like this one. This one, I know there's a lot of symbolism to it, but it's definitely not a good one. Definitely not a good one. Now we move on to Saw X. Saw X was a great movie. It's actually my second favorite one in the entire franchise. It came out last year. This one is really, really cool. Like, all the traps in it, there's a few ones that really don't make sense. But, it's a really cool movie. I like it. And the twist behind it is so cool as well. This one actually follows John Kramer's story when he was trying to get the cancer out of his head. This one has a great storyline. I like it. The eye vacuum. Eye vacuum goes in A tier. I think above... Actually, top 3. I like the eye vacuum. The eye vacuum one, very, very cool. I like it. It's very terrifying because it has to do with eyes, but I like it. It's so cool. The pipe bomb, we'll put it at C, but I'll put it above the finger trap. Above the flammable jelly. I think it'll be over here. This one, basically the guy has to cut through his arms to get the wires from a bomb that's going to set off on his arms out. I think it's actually based off of one of the traps in the video game. The video game itself is actually very terrible. Other than that, it's an okay trap. Oh, this one is going in a solid S tier, and it's going above the glass coffin. This one was so terrible to sit through. The wire saw trap is so... oh, it's so gross. All of the traps in Saw X are so gross to see. Especially this one. The brain surgery trap definitely goes above it. No, not above the rack. Yeah. Oh, the brain surgery one was so icky. That one was the one that I physically could not watch. I had to turn away a bunch of times while I saw this dude pick into his brain to get the brain matter out. This one was basically she had to saw her leg off with a manual saw, and she had to suck out bone marrow, but she couldn't get there in time, so she couldn't get enough bone marrow in time, so it cut off her head. This one, he had to dig out a bunch of his brain matter and put it in an enzyme that would dissolve it. And he didn't end up doing it in time, and the mask that's around his head closes, and I think it burns his face off. It's very terrible. It's definitely my favorite one out of the entire movie, but it's so gross to look at. The radiation trap definitely is very stupid because this girl is suspended by the ceiling from her hand, and she's tied to the floor in the air by her leg. And she's in front of a giant machine that has a bunch of radiation that's being shot on her. And I was watching Dead Meat describe this one. He said he called it a super cancer machine. It's really funny. This lady ends up dying, not because of the radiation, because the villain of the movie steps on her neck, which is really sad because I actually quite liked her. She was actually one of my favorite characters in the entire movie. But definitely the weakest trap of the movie. So I'm gonna put it at a B because it's really funny to watch. But I'll put it above the Braising Bowl. Finally, the last three, the bloodboarding trap. Very easy to escape. Where did it go? Oh no, I let go. Oh, there it is. Very easy to escape. Not a very creative trap either. And I didn't like the fact that a child was involved in this trap. I'll put it at a C above the razor box. I really don't like that it involved a trap involving a child, because basically this child and Jigsaw, or John Kramer, was attached to this giant seesaw looking thing, and they would be drowned by this really big vat of blood that would pour onto their faces. They each took turns to try and waste the blood and survive the trap. They did end up surviving, but it was so terrible to see. The gas chamber, not a very fitting end for the villains. I'm gonna put it at, I think I'm gonna put it in the C tier, above Amanda's test. The gas chamber trap, not a very cool trap. It's just these two villains in the entire movie have to survive by sticking their heads out through these little holes where they can get fresh air so they don't die from the poison gas. But the guy ends up dying and the villain remains alive. So yeah, this one, the disembowelment trap is actually the one that I don't know what it is. I actually don't know what's going on in this trap. I think it's twisting his insides. I'm not sure what's happening in this trap. I think I'm going to put it at a C though, because I think it's actually done on the person that suggested that John go to these people to get this experimental treatment, even though it didn't work because it was a scam. I think I'm going to put it above the freezer room and spine colored. Actually, I'll put it above the bloodboarding one. Alright, we're done. Actually, Hoffman showed up for this trap too, for like a split second, which is really cool. And I think we're done. Thank you all so much for watching this video about me ranking all the Saw traps in this movie. I definitely had a lot of fun making this. It's really cool to see all of these traps come together, and I cannot wait to see Saw 11. If you guys really liked this type of video, please let me know, because I have a lot of ideas involving tier list videos. So if you guys want to see more, I'd love to know. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!